Welcome to your Branch Out podcast, where we explore communication, markets, digital behavior, and business signals shaping Southeast Asia.
It is so great to be here. I mean, we are looking at a market today that operates as this really fascinating mirror for regional operators.
Yeah.
It reflects all the cracks and really the fragilities in the standard expansion playbooks that most businesses just blindly rely on.
Right, and today we're focusing on Timor-Leste. And, the reason we are framing this as the ultimate stress test for the standard ASEAN digital playbook is, well, it's because of the assumptions businesses make when they look at data dashboards. Picture it. If you're a regional manager sitting in Singapore or Jakarta and you're looking at a spreadsheet, you see high mobile penetration, you see a really young youth demographic, you see this huge greenfield opportunity.
And you get excited.
Exactly. You allocate budget for digital ads, you launch a sleek platform, and then nothing happens.
Right. Crickets.
So today, we are unpacking exactly why that automated platform-driven strategy just shatters upon contact with this specific local reality.
Yeah, we really need to pull apart the difference between a digital signal and actual, on-the-ground human behavior. Because when operators are used to these data-rich, highly structured environments, they treat digital visibility as the ultimate currency.
Right.
When you lift the hood on a market where the underlying infrastructure is still catching up, you quickly realize that building trust requires a completely different architecture.
So let's start right at the top with the demographic and digital signals from late 2025, because this is exactly the trap we're talking about.
The spreadsheet trap.
Yes, exactly. So Timor-Leste has a population of about 1.42 million, and it is incredibly young. The median age is just 21.7.
Wow.
I know, right? But then the number that jumps completely off the page, cellular mobile connections sit at 1.83 million. That is 129% of the total population. Add to that, 80% of the adult population uses social media, which is almost entirely dominated by Facebook. We're talking about 687,000 active users.
I mean, those are the exact numbers that get a growth team highly motivated.
Oh, absolutely.
On paper, it looks like this incredibly frictionless entry point.
Right. Looking at a 129% connection rate,
Yeah.
my immediate startup brain says, massive digital scale. It feels like everyone in the country has a digital megaphone in their pocket and is just ready to be marketed to.
Yeah.
But isn't there a trap here? Like, digging into the regional context, that connection metric is masking a massive infrastructural gap.
It is. It's masking a reality that fundamentally changes your customer acquisition cost.
Okay, how so?
Because while the mobile connections are at that 129%, the internet penetration rate tells a completely different story. At the end of 2025, about 59.6% of the population remained entirely offline.
Wait, nearly 60%? Without internet access, despite there being more mobile connections than human beings. We need to unpack that a bit.
Right.
My assumption here is that we are looking at basic cellular infrastructure phenomena, like maybe multi-SIM behavior to chase network promotions, or connections that only support 2G and 3G voice and SMS, not broadband data.
You hit the nail on the head. That is the reality of the infrastructure. A connection simply means a SIM card is active on a network tower somewhere.
Okay.
It does not mean a user has a smartphone, and it certainly doesn't mean they have the data plan required to stream video content or smoothly browse a dynamic e-commerce site.
Right.
So many users maintain multiple SIM cards just to navigate patchy network coverage or to capitalize on prepaid voice promotions from different telcos.
So the denominator is artificially inflated.
Exactly.
The implication for a business entering this market is pretty severe then. I mean, if you're calculating your total addressable market based on that 129% mobile figure.
Which a lot of people do.
Right. Or if you're relying purely on Facebook reach to build your brand, you're operating in an illusion. You are entirely missing the majority of the market that is offline.
You're not only missing the offline majority, but you're completely misunderstanding the behavior of the minority that actually is online.
Oh, interesting. Unpack that.
Well, unlike markets like Singapore or urban centers in Thailand, where dense digital infrastructure allows you to basically blanket a demographic with programmatic ads and reliably calculate a conversion rate.
Sure.
The underlying system here is highly fragmented, so you are seeing a signal of connectivity, but it's superficial.
That sets up a really fascinating problem. If the digital systems are uneven and you can't rely on an algorithm to validate your business to the consumer, how do people actually decide who to trust?
That's the core question.
Let's look at audience behavior. Because in highly structured markets, the sequence of trust is incredibly predictable. It usually goes trust, decision, purchase.
Yeah.
You see a targeted ad, you check the polished website, the platform's payment gateway provides this third-party institutional trust, and you click buy.
The platform acts as the guarantor.
Exactly. But the behavioral signals in Timor-Leste show that this sequence is entirely flipped. Here, the sequence is access, trust, repeat.
Access before trust.
Right, meaning if I cannot physically verify you, I don't even begin to consider your digital presence credible.
Because users in this market do not operate on the assumption that digital visibility equates to credibility. They just don't.
Right.
They've adapted to an environment where institutional systems, supply chains, and consumer protections aren't always reliable.
Right.
So instead of outsourcing their trust to a sleek interface or a third-party review system, they ask, is this real? Can I physically access this business?
Wow.
Yeah. Trust is not distributed through automated funnels. It relies on physical availability and a localized, proven ability to deliver.
I am thinking about this in the context of the cloud kitchen model that, exploded across ASEAN over the last few
Oh,
years.
that's a perfect example.
Right. In Jakarta or Manila, a consumer doesn't care where the kitchen is physically located. As long as the delivery app processes the payment and a driver shows up, the physical building is totally irrelevant.
Totally invisible.
But applying that logic to Timor-Leste seems like a recipe for disaster. Relying purely on a viral Facebook presence here is like handing out beautiful business cards for a store that has no doors.
Yeah, the cloud kitchen example illustrates the friction perfectly. Because if you try to operate a ghost kitchen in Dili, the consumer's first instinct isn't to trust the app.
No.
No, their instinct is to wonder why you're hiding your physical location.
Ah, that makes so much sense.
Right. The first barrier to entry in this market isn't branding. It is physical existence. If a product or service is not visibly local, like if they can't walk past your storefront or know the neighborhood you operate in, it doesn't matter how polished your social media content is.
So the digital presence is treated almost with suspicion if it lacks a physical anchor.
Exactly.
It means digital marketing doesn't lead the customer journey. It merely reinforces the physical reality.
It acts as an echo. And when planners look at this market, they must internalize that visibility without local anchoring fails. You can have a Facebook page with immense reach, but without local presence, immediate responsiveness, and clear offline execution, that digital presence just feels distant.
Right.
People need to know exactly where to find you if a product is defective or if a service isn't delivered.
They need physical recourse.
Yes.
They will ask their neighbors. They'll check WhatsApp community groups. They want to see your delivery scooter in their actual area. Offline interaction, word of mouth, and direct contact aren't just supplementary marketing channels here. They are the core drivers of commerce.
Which completely forces foreign operators to rethink their operational budgets.
Yeah.
I mean, the capital you might normally allocate to a massive top-of-funnel digital awareness campaign,
Yeah.
that needs to be redirected entirely into physical relationship building, local partnerships, and ground-level visibility.
Well, if institutional systems, automated platforms, and corporate logos don't confer trust, that burden has to fall somewhere.
It does.
And the data points directly to professional branding and human signals. Let's look at the platform shifts because there is a massive anomaly in the numbers we discussed earlier.
Yeah.
Facebook dominates, obviously, but the real story is happening on a different network.
Right. The signal coming from LinkedIn is incredibly telling. Over the past year, LinkedIn saw a 158% increase in ad reach in Timor-Leste.
158%.
Yeah. That equates to about 30,000 new users logging in and building professional profiles.
158% spike for a professional networking platform in a market of 1.4 million people is a seismic shift in behavior.
It really is.
My initial thought would be that this is driven by, corporate recruiting or traditional B2B lead generation. But given our conversation about trust, I suspect it serves a very different function here.
It is functioning as a digital passport for interpersonal trust. This spike connects directly to the reality that commerce in Timor-Leste is intensely personal.
Okay.
In broader Asian markets, founders and regional directors can hide behind corporate communications teams or automated customer service chatbots and slick brand identities.
Right. You don't need to know the name of the CEO of a ride-hailing app to feel safe getting in the car.
Exactly. The brand is the shield. But in Timor-Leste, the brand is secondary to the individual.
People want to know exactly who is responsible.
Yes. They are using LinkedIn not just to find jobs, but to publicly stake their professional reputations.
Yeah.
Because in a low-trust institutional environment, your personal reputation is your most valuable collateral.
So the founder's visibility is not just a vanity metric or a PR tactic, it is essential reassurance. The founder effectively becomes the trust infrastructure of the business.
That is a great way to put it.
Right. If I'm looking to partner with a logistics firm or a B2B supplier, I'm not looking at their website's About Us page. I am looking up the founder to see who they know, what their history is, and whether they are a real, accountable human being in the local ecosystem.
You are looking for human verification.
Yeah.
Users rely on known individuals and direct experience. Trust isn't an abstract corporate concept. It's concentrated in real people.
But looking at this from a structural business perspective, I have to challenge the viability of this model from modern tech companies.
Sure.
If you're a startup founder, if growth relies on personal handshakes, direct human verification, and the founder's face needing to be visible for every major transaction or partnership, doesn't that completely break the venture capital model of exponential scaling?
Oh, completely.
You cannot automate a handshake.
It completely breaks it. And that is a vital truth operators need to accept before they enter the market rather than discovering it after burning through their runway.
Right.
Growth in a market like this is linear. It is not exponential.
That fundamentally alters the expectations a business must set with its stakeholders.
It requires a total paradigm shift because growth happens through relationships, repeated reliable interactions, and gradual hard-won expansion.
It doesn't happen through a viral TikTok campaign or rapid platform amplification.
Not at all. Proximity, consistency, and reliability will outperform broad, automated digital visibility every single time. A small, stable, highly visible local presence will beat a massive, faceless marketing campaign.
It's the difference between building a moat out of code versus building a moat out of relationships.
Exactly.
Expecting fast hockey stick growth in Timor-Leste is a fundamental misunderstanding of how the local business culture protects itself. You have to put in the time to build the personal trust architecture before you can even begin to think about scaling your operations.
And that local defense mechanism, the reliance on human verification, is incredibly rational when you consider the environment.
Yeah.
It protects consumers from fly-by-night operators who just throw up a digital storefront and disappear.
Let's pull the lens back and place this localized behavior into the broader regional context, because examining this specific market's behavior really forces us to rethink the resilience of our macro strategies across all of Southeast Asia. We should look at the ASEAN Digital Master Plan 2025 as the ultimate contrast to this ground reality.
Yes, the ADM 2025 is the aspirational blueprint for the region. It focuses heavily on creating a leading, seamless digital economic bloc.
Right.
We are talking about the rollout of 5G, massive investments in smart city infrastructure, digitizing cross-border trade documents, and harmonizing regulations to allow seamless data and capital flows between nations.
The vision is a highly structured, digitally inclusive society where e-commerce processes are entirely frictionless. It assumes a baseline of digital literacy and robust infrastructure where automated trust is the default.
It's a phenomenal vision.
All right.
But when we hold that high-level regional aspiration up against the realities of Timor-Leste, we see why this market is such an important stress test.
Right.
It represents the last-mile challenges of ASEAN integration.
Because if a regional strategy relies entirely on the assumption of a data-rich, seamlessly connected environment, it lacks resilience.
Yeah.
It's fundamentally fragile.
Fragile is the exact right word. While the region pushes aggressively toward artificial intelligence, automation, and seamless integration, regional managers must be prepared to operate in environments where those systems are not just catching up, but where consumer psychology actively resists them.
Wow.
The ADM 2025 acknowledges that varying regulatory environments and inadequate infrastructure are barriers. Timor-Leste is simply a concentrated, magnified example of those barriers in daily action.
So if you take a customer acquisition strategy designed for the fully realized vision of the ASEAN Master Plan and drop it into a market where 60% of people are offline and trust requires a physical storefront, the strategy doesn't just underperform, it shatters completely.
And we cannot dismiss this as an isolated phenomenon unique to one small nation.
Yeah.
Southeast Asia is characterized by extreme unevenness. You have highly developed, frictionless smart cities sitting just a short flight away from deeply rural, unbanked populations.
Right.
The localized mechanics we see in Timor-Leste, the necessity of physical access, the reliance on offline trust networks, the linear nature of growth, apply just as heavily to Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities across Indonesia, like Maluku or parts of Sulawesi or deep rural areas in the Philippines.
These are the realities of transition markets.
Hmm.
And what regional operators often misunderstand is that the arrival of a digital presence, whether it is a new 4G tower or a surge in smartphone adoption, does not instantly overwrite deeply ingrained cultural behaviors.
Technology can be imported overnight. Trust cannot. You cannot import a playbook from a saturated high-trust digital market and expect the local population to immediately abandon the traditional verification methods that have kept them safe.
Right.
When institutional systems are weak, human behavior compensates to create stability. That is exactly what we are seeing with the flipped sequence of access before trust and the sudden rise of personal founder branding on platforms like LinkedIn.
So when an operator looks at those initial signals, the 1.83 million mobile connections, the 80% social media usage, they must view them not as the finish line of their market research, but as the starting point of an inquiry.
Exactly.
They have to ask, what does this actually mean for the person holding the phone?
They need to separate the data point from the daily reality. The signal tells us there is high mobile adoption. The interpretation of that signal, grounded in local context, tells us it is largely voice, SMS, and multi-SIM behavior heavily reliant on offline validation.
Yes.
The business implication is that capital needs to shift away from purely programmatic digital ads and toward localized physical relationship building.
This forces a very necessary mindset shift. It moves us away from treating Southeast Asia as a monolith of exponential digital growth and toward a deep respect for the localized human mechanics of commerce.
It really does.
While technology and platforms can scale infinitely and across borders with zero friction, trust remains intensely local, incremental, and personal.
It is the ultimate bottleneck, but also the ultimate competitive moat for businesses willing to do the groundwork.
I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over, looking ahead at where this intersection of infrastructure and behavior is going. We are on the cusp of low Earth orbit satellite internet, like Starlink, blanketing regions like this with high-speed broadband virtually overnight.
Right.
When that 60% offline population suddenly lights up with seamless access, what happens? Does the market leapfrog directly into the standard digital funnel? Or does this deeply entrenched physical trust sequence become even more rigid as a defense mechanism against a sudden flood of foreign digital noise?
Oh, that's such an interesting question.
It is a tension that will completely redefine market entry strategies in the very near future.
A critical dynamic to watch as the infrastructure catches up to the audience. But really, this market is evolving fast. But the real opportunity belongs to those who understand how local trust is built before they try to scale visibility.
That closes our discussion for today. Thank you for listening to Branch Out by Y Consulting, where we examine the signals shaping business across Southeast Asia. Keep watching the signals. We'll speak with you again in the next episode.